Hello, and welcome back to Listen to English Every Day. Your space to listen, repeat, shadow, and learn English at a slow, natural pace. I'm Alan, and I'm happy you're here. In this episode, I speak slowly. I use clear, simple words, and I repeat ideas so you can shadow my voice, practice your speaking, and build your confidence step by step. This video is perfect for intermediate to advanced English learners who want to improve their skills in English conversations. I'm going to share the exact phrases and expressions you need for English conversations, like when you want to interrupt someone, change the topic, end a conversation, and many others. In fact, I'm sharing 50 useful phrases that will help you in English conversations, all useful expressions you need to improve your speaking skills and maintain conversations longer. I hope you're ready. Let's get into it. A lot can happen during a conversation. Talking about the topic is one important part, but to speak fluently and with ease, you need a range of conversation tools. There are many shifts and changes that happen during conversations depending on who you're talking to, what's going on around you, and whether or not you're interested. Right now, we'll focus on the tools you need to move around in conversations easily and naturally. If you make it to the end of this video, I'll share some advanced expressions to help you talk about controversial topics and express ideas when you know not everyone will agree with you. If that sounds too intense and you want to start with simpler conversation strategies about starting conversations, I recommend you first watch this lesson here. As you give your opinion or share something, it's nice to invite the other person's opinion. This is an important strategy to extend conversations. When asking for opinions, you could simply ask, "Do you agree?" A basic, closed question. To get more interesting answers, try, "What do you think about that?" "What's your opinion?" Logically, or "How do you feel about it?" More politely, you might say, "I'd like to hear your thoughts on that," or "I'm interested to hear your opinion about this." More formally, at a work meeting, you might ask, "Would you like to add anything?" A polite way to invite others into the conversation. When you need to interrupt someone, there are polite ways to do it. You could say, "Sorry," or more politely, "Excuse me," then continue with your idea. For example, "Sorry, I thought our meeting was on Thursday next week, not Wednesday." To informally interrupt and add an idea, say, "Do you mind if I add to that?" Or, "Can I jump in here?" More politely, "Sorry to interrupt, but I've got something to say." Or, "Sorry for interrupting." "Sorry to interrupt" is used more when speaking directly to the person you're interrupting, while "sorry for interrupting" might be used when entering a room full of people. More formally, in customer service, you might say, "Sorry, may I interrupt you for just a moment?" Or, "If I may interrupt you for a minute, I'd like to share something." When you've gone off topic, started talking about apples but ended up discussing potatoes, you can get back on track with phrases like, "Anyway, getting back to my story. As I was saying, where was I? Ah, yes." Or combine them. "Anyway, where were we? Ah, yes, you were talking about apples." When you think you understood but need to double-check, use expressions like, "So what you're asking is." Then repeat what you heard. "So what you want to know is." Paraphrase. "Do you mean?" Or, in other words, "What you're saying is." This is natural in conversation. Native speakers won't mind confirming. In customer service, more formally say, "I'd like to confirm what you said." Or, excuse me, can I just confirm that what you said? We constantly agree and disagree with people. Agreeing is simple. Yes, absolutely. I completely agree with you. Or the strong expression, I couldn't agree more. To somewhat disagree, accepting some ideas but not completely, say, I see what you mean, but I understand your point of view, but I can see where you're coming from, but, or I agree with you up to a point, however. To disagree completely. I don't feel the same way. Actually, I don't quite agree. I disagree. I'm afraid I don't agree with you on that. Or, I'm afraid I don't agree with you about that. The phrase, I'm afraid, makes statements more polite, not indicating actual fear. More formally, respectfully, I have to disagree. When conversations get tense, say, we'll have to agree to disagree to end the discussion. In formal situations, be aware of body language. Avoid shaking your head, rolling eyes, or sighing unless intentionally showing frustration. To change topics when you've run out of things to say or want to switch direction, use that reminds me. Speaking about or speaking of. For example, speaking about your holiday to Greece. Did I tell you I've got a trip planned later this year? For completely different topics. Oh, by the way, did I tell you about? Oh, while I remember, before I forget. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but, or, I know this is completely changing the topic, but. For controversial topics, politics, religion, social issues, use advanced phrases when introducing ideas others might disagree with. I know not everyone agrees with me, but this is what I think. I know this is a contentious issue. It might be an unpopular opinion, but I strongly believe. I don't see eye to eye with everyone on this matter, but whilst you may not agree with my views, I'm interested in hearing yours. Or the idiom, I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers here, meaning not trying to upset anyone. To end conversations politely, I'd best be off. It's been great chatting. Anyway, I'd better get back to it. I'd better get back to work. I'm so glad I ran into you. It's been great catching up. Or, I'll see you soon. That's over 50 common phrases for advanced English conversations. Native speakers use these constantly, so listen for them in movies and podcasts. Don't try learning all 50 at once. Choose a few from each category and get familiar with them. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and the Ladies Project, linked here. Keep practicing with me in lesson number 2. Do you feel frustrated getting stuck in English conversations? Want to keep talking, but don't know what to say? Maybe you freeze, forget words, or aren't understood. Today, I have 30 awesome phrases to help you get unstuck, plus a free PDF workbook with these expressions and a quiz. The download link is in the description. Add your name and email to receive it and join my weekly newsletter. Confident English speakers, native or non-native, use these phrases naturally. Native speakers use them because communication isn't always perfect. Sometimes we don't explain ourselves clearly and need these expressions to keep conversations going. The difference is confident speakers know how to quickly recover without panicking. You just need to know what to say in these situations. Imagine running into a colleague or professor and starting to chat in English. Things go well until you don't understand them, maybe unfamiliar words or accent. In these situations, say, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you repeat that? If they spoke too fast, could you say that again a little more slowly? Sorry, I'm not following you, when meaning is unclear. I don't think I understood clearly. Could you say that again? Memorizing these phrases is step one, but to make them active vocabulary, practice using them in different situations. In another situation, you're talking but suddenly forget your words. Every English word disappears from your head, or you forget what you're talking about mid-sentence. This happens to everyone, including native speakers. When this happens, say, "What's that word? It's on the tip of my tongue." Describing that frustrating feeling when the word feels close but won't come out. "I'm sorry, I had a mental blank. I can't remember the word in English." The other person will likely help remind you. Or say, "I forgot the English word. Do you know what I mean?" If you can't find the word, don't stop. Say, "Never mind," and change topics. "Tell me about the new project you're working on." "Never mind. It might come back in a minute." This keeps the conversation moving. If you completely forget what you were talking about, say, "Hang on, let me start over. Let me try that again." Or, "Oh, I completely lost my train of thought. Hopefully, it'll come back to me in a moment." You can choose to feel embarrassed or hit the reset button. Just signal what happened so the conversation can continue. Notice how I'm not taking myself too seriously, using facial expressions to communicate. Honesty is important in conversation. These expressions explain what happened so listeners can help. This will happen often on your journey to fluency, and even after becoming fluent. Fluency doesn't mean perfection. It means having phrases needed for successful conversations, even when you make mistakes. Sometimes you don't know what to say because you're unprepared or it's a new topic. You might need extra time to think. In these cases, say, "To be honest, I'm not really familiar with the political situation in Venezuela." For more thinking time, "That's an interesting question. Let me think for a moment." "That's tricky. I've never been asked that before. I'm not sure. Give me a second to think about it." Or, "Just give me a second to think about how to explain it in English." These phrases buy you time to organize thoughts. In group conversations, you can redirect. "I need time to think about my answer. Does anyone else want to jump in?" At work, when asked unexpectedly to share opinions, you might freeze. Instead, return the question, "I've never thought about that before. What about you?" "Oh gosh, I've never been asked that before. What do you think?" Or, casually, "What's your take?" This gives you time to think while the other person speaks, and their response might inspire your answer. When asked uncomfortable questions, it's okay not to answer. Say, "I'd rather not answer that if that's okay." For personal reasons, is it okay if we talk about something else? Or change topics directly. "What are you doing this weekend?" If the other person seems confused, say, "Am I making sense? Are you following?" Earlier we used, "I'm not following you." These check if they understand. If clearly not following, "I don't think I'm being very clear. Let me try that again." Miscommunications happen despite our best efforts. When they occur, say, "Sorry, I think there was a misunderstanding. What I meant to say was," rephrasing your idea. Or, "I don't think I explained myself clearly." Avoid saying, "I think you misunderstood," as it blames them. This is rude unless absolutely certain they were at fault. Using passive voice, "There was a misunderstanding," avoids assigning blame and is usually best. Now you have 30 useful expressions for when you're stuck in English conversations. If you enjoyed this lesson, like it and comment below. I love hearing from you. Practice these phrases in real conversations.